To everyone listening, this is Tegan and Sara. Specifically, this is Tegan.
And I'm Sara, and we're excited to be here.
So I've seen the postcards you posted online, and they're hilarious, especially the Warsaw one. Mm-hmm. Did you choose it for like yourself, or who was in charge of that?
Our art director, Emmy Story, who does all of our artwork and merch, and we sort of throw ideas at her. Excuse me, we throw ideas at her, and then she is the one who sort of takes those descriptions and turns them into actual work. So we just said that we thought it could be funny to have Tegan and I on postcards from the countries and cities that we were going to, and she gravitated towards the sort of more older, painterly, old-fashioned look, but then took like a very modern image of us and slapped it on top. So we thought that was really funny.
Yeah. Right. You finally managed to cross the border between Western Europe and Eastern Europe. How do you feel about it?
We feel really good about it. I mean, it's a conversation we've had for a lot of years about why we haven't come to Eastern Europe. We get so much mail and, so many requests to come here, but it's just never worked out. And earlier this year, I sort of threw what can only be described as a bit of a tantrum to our agent and our managers, and I said, it's time, we should go. And I don't care if 5 people come. I just feel like it's time to go there. I feel like it's an important time in Eastern Europe too. There's a lot of countries that are going through a lot of change, and there's a lot of young people feeling, intense and upset and political. And there's a lot of stuff happening with LGBT rights. And I just felt like it was a really good time to come here and bring a little bit of lightness.
Great, Sara.
I agree. I think a big part of why we still tour is to go to the places that we've never been. 14 years of traveling around the world, and there's still, dozens and dozens of places that we still want to go, and that's a huge part of why we keep doing it.
And have you had any chance to see the city?
We drove in. We got in very late last night, so we got to see a little bit of the city, and Sara went for a run, so she got to take in quite a bit, and we had a nice dinner last night. So far, I really like it. I'm giving Poland a thumbs up. Warsaw, it's hard when you arrive somewhere and the sun's going down. It felt a bit bleak, but we've been assured that it's a very friendly place, and
it is.
Yeah,
I went for a run in this part of the city, and I guess the older part of the city, and we went through this big beautiful park, and there were so many people out, I guess because of All Saints Day, the holiday yesterday. I thought it seemed beautiful, great energy.
Well, it's so amazing. Honestly, part of why we really wanted to come to Eastern Europe is there is such incredible history here. It's part of what makes touring in Europe so special. We tour all over the world, but a lot of the places we tour, they're such new countries, and there's not necessarily that much history. It's incredible how much. I remember when we first started coming to Europe, just being amazed when we would go to France and Germany, and just seeing all these things you read about in books. And Europeans are so different. There's an evolved nature to Europeans because of how much you guys have been through. So.
Okay, so moving to the music, Heartthrob is your 7th album, but it's pretty different from everything you've done before. Mm-hmm. With each album, we could see how you grew up, and each album was different, but Heartthrob is like more powerful than anything you've ever done, and actually it's also more poppy, more electronic. And I was wondering if it was the decision, like, did you do this on purpose, or just were you going through more electronic phase?
I think that all of that, what you said, is fairly accurate. Some of it was just what we're interested in, the kind of music we're listening to. Some of it was about limitations of our other sound, indie rock, acoustic rock, whatever we were labeled before. That wasn't always popular in the places that we wanted to go. And we started to ask ourselves, 10 plus years into our career, is there room to change our sound and still maintain the fan base that we have while also growing the fan base? Mm-hmm. And honestly, all of the production aside, we just wanted to make something new and exciting, almost as if we were a new band. And pop music seemed to be the way that we could do that, like a very modern, muscular approach to our songwriting. So I feel very invigorated by it. I don't know if that means we'll continue down that path, but I have no interest in going backwards. I don't want to sound like the band we had 10 years ago.
It's been like a year since the closer was released, and maybe it's time to sum up something. Do you feel that you achieved all the goals that you set for yourselves during the recording?
Absolutely. I think a lot of the things we put down on the list we already achieved. You know, our big thing was reaching more people, and we definitely accomplished that. Another big thing was to explore a lot of new places, and we're definitely doing that. So those are like the big things. I think sometimes when people take a creative direction change, people think it's for money or fame or whatever. But for us, it truly was about inspiration, making something new and fresh. So we've accomplished all of that, but it's definitely not over yet. I mean, like, we feel we have a year of touring still ahead of us, and we really want this record to continue to grow in people's minds. When we put out our record, The Con, you know, it took a year for that record to really click with people, and then when it did, it just was like a wildfire. And I think Heartthrob is going to be like that in a lot of ways. You know, in certain places it took off right away. In Canada, it's our biggest record ever. In America, it's our biggest record. But I think that in some of these other places that we love and want to tour, it's taking a little bit longer for the record to get inside people. But that's like probably our last final goal for this record is to see the record become a big part of fans outside of North America.
Okay, so there are going to be more singles from the
absolutely.
Do you know what it's going to be?
In Canada, we've already moved on to another single, so the second song was "I Was a Fool."
Yeah, the third, "Goodbye."
So and then "Goodbye, Goodbye." So I'm fairly certain we'll follow that path. I mean, I think "I Was a Fool" is a great second single. I think there's a lot of really cool songs on the record. So I don't know. It'll depend, I guess, when we move on. You know what the season is like and what else is on radio at the time. But yeah.
You've definitely reached the new audiences as we talked, and you've recently played with, for example, Taylor Swift or Katy Perry. As I watched the videos, I couldn't help myself thinking that you look a little bit lost there.
Oh my God.
Could you elaborate somehow? How do you feel about it? Did you like it?
I mean, I want to believe that we're not lost as much as we're just taking it in for the first time. You know, Taylor Swift, for example, I mean, she does that every night. She plays in front of 15, 17, 20,000 people. And she sings those songs and she struts her stuff. But we do something totally different. So it's like we're wide-eyed taking in this, you know...
Madness, actually.
It's madness, and it's it's like being in a show, you know? It's not necessarily like being on stage playing music. It's being sort of like in theater, or like a Broadway musical or something. Like there's dancers and there's lifts, and you know, it's very intense. So I felt very confident, but I also was like, what the? Like you're like a tourist, you know, like.
Well, you just never know when you're going to be back there, so you take it all in.
Yeah.
You know, it's not our everyday life, and it's not necessarily where we want to be. So when you're there, you just are like taking it in, just soaking it up, you know.
Cool.
Yeah.
Cool. But it was adorable. I need to tell you, it was all really...
We look so short, is what it is.
No,
I've never felt like we were short until this record, because now all of a sudden we're like we meet all these celebrities and we can't help it. Like we just look like little people or something. Like we're just so tiny, and it is partly just like our youthfulness of like never having been there. That it's like, you know, emulating from us. Like, but no, it's amazing. These are incredible moments that we'll get to look back on.
You have amazing contact with your friends. It's not like Amanda fucking Palmer style, but anyway, it's like you're kind of an open book for your fans, and you take care of them, and you do everything to make them happy. I was wondering, why is it important for you?
That's all we had at the beginning. You know, we had a good record company, but we weren't like a big band. We weren't popular, so we relied on the people who listened to our music to spread the word about our band, and that meant having to be in touch with them directly. I think it was also really validating for us at the start of our career to hear straight from the source that someone liked us. We didn't have we weren't cocky. We weren't like, we're amazing and our record is so cool and we're like adrift from our audience. We were in our audience saying, thank you for giving us this life, you know. And I think that over 14 years, there is a step back. We're not engaging, like, you know, you reference Amanda Palmer. There's lots of artists that engage daily in a very direct way. I think we do have a line. We do say, okay, this is our private life and this is our public life. But I think that when we look out into our audience, increasingly, we feel that our audience really does reflect us. And so we feel like it's important to keep a dialogue going. And I care. If you're coming to see us play or you're listening to the music, I am invested in hearing what you think. I don't always do anything about it. You know, like people call for old songs that we put out when we were 17 years old. We're never going to play them. It's, you know, it's not a diss against those songs. It's just, it's too long ago. Or people will say, oh, I liked it better when you were acoustic. Well, you can still listen to the acoustic record, no problem, you know, but I want them to feel heard. I want them to know we care. You know, we really do, and we still feel like that, those 17-year-olds that are like, thank you for listening, you know, that doesn't go away.
One of the most important parts of you playing live for the fans were banters.
Yeah.
Where does the good go?
Yeah.
For us, in the beginning of our career, speaking on stage, especially the dialogue that would happen between the two of us, was so important. We didn't have enough material musically to fill a show, so we relied on the stories and the communication to actually just waste time. I mean, that's quite frankly what we were doing. Like, that's really how it started. And then it grew into something that became sort of part of the show, and it was a nice icebreaker. It was a way to connect us to the people. Now, you know, it's day to day, night to night. I mean, there are just times where I know there's a handful of people in the audience who would be satisfied listening to us talk all night, but we're playing for 4,000 people, and, you know, half of them are at the back of the room, and they're not engaging in that way with us. So we constantly are reading the room and deciding, okay, what kind of show tonight? Is tonight one of those ones where it's like, hello, Cleveland, you know, like it's just like you sort of power through? Or is it a show where you can be more intimate and tell stories? Just this week, you know, we played in Copenhagen in a theater, and we talked all night.
It was like a 2-hour show.
It was a much longer show. We spoke quite a lot. Then we played, you know, the night before last, we played in Munich, and it was a rock show. You know, it was just like we just powered through. And although I know that doesn't always satisfy the hardcore fan, because they want both, you know, we're professionals, and we have to be able to give the majority of the room what they really need and what they really want. And if the space is not conducive to banter, we just don't do it, you know.
Okay, understand.
You know.
Okay, you are not only twins, but you are gay twins, and you are open about it. And I don't know if you know, but this country is not the country that you live in or even been to. Like, we are not like Western Europe. And when you fight, for example, for marriage equity, we fight for a simple acknowledgement that gay people exist, and this is not against the nature. So we don't even have civil partnerships. And that's why I would like to, you know, start from the basics. And if you could explain, why is it so important to be open and to be out when you are gay, and why was it important for you?
I think right from the start of our career, which when we started touring, gay marriage was not legal in Canada or in the US. I think right away we knew that we were obviously going to be seen as being different, and we embraced that right away, and we had a gay audience right away, and it wasn't just gay people, it was just gay friendly people, like people who were interested in the fringe, alternative, independent music, that sort of thing. And then when gay marriage passed in Canada, I think, you know, we were at an age at that point, we were in our early 20s where it was relevant. I think as a teenager, it wasn't as relevant. We didn't think about it that much. Canada's quite liberal, so even without gay marriage being legal, it didn't feel like we were going to live a horrible, unhappy life where we weren't recognized. But as we get older, you know, certain things happened where we were like, no, we have to fight for this. We have to speak out, and we have to be an ally to all of the communities around the world where it isn't okay. And especially with, you know, Prop 8 and the American election in 2008, when they took away gay marriage in California, you know, me and my partner both became really enraged, you know, because I live part-time in California, and it was really infuriating. We pay so much tax in America, and I was like, I refuse to just sit by and have to follow all the laws, like, but then I don't have any rights. And it became very much like a fight, you know, for us that we were very interested in. And we also spend a lot of time talking to fans, and it is heartbreaking to look into the eyes of a 14 or 15-year-old girl or boy and their mother and father, and have them say, well, you know, he or she's punished at school, or, you know, is bullied and isn't loved, or to have the parents reject the child. I mean, it just, you realize how human this really is. We're talking about just one basic thing, which is just accepting all of humans and just saying we love everybody and everybody deserves to be treated well. And so as our fight has continued to evolve and grow, we've started to look into places all over the world where it's not fair and it's not equal. And we're not here to point the finger or speak politically in a way that's like judgmental. I don't know the world here. I don't know this country's politics in the way I know my own, but I know that we're all just people, and I know that young people especially need to be taken care of and need to be embraced and loved, and that the world is changing and eventually it will have to change here. So you might as well just get on the train and go. But we feel like
we're also a part
it's
of,
important to be here and be a part of that conversation.
Of course. And it's important for us to acknowledge that in Canada, once gay marriage happened, once civil unions happened, once equality really had happened, nothing changed for the people who weren't gay. Like, what changes is that there is suddenly safety and acknowledgement and a
rights.
Future for gay people. And I always say this to, my friends in America who will say, like, well, you have to understand, for religious people, if gay people get married, it'll change the way that... And I say, no. All it changes is for the people who don't have access to it right now. And, as a society, as a culture in Canada, it wasn't like black and white, It wasn't. It just... It'll happen slowly over time that there's a shift, But the rights are important. In the moment it happened, for the people who needed them, who wanted to share their lives or raise children together or whatever, the change was needed. And as soon as it happened, it elevated people's lives, So, but that doesn't mean that we don't have our own issues in Canada or the United States. So for us, it's the fight won't probably ever be over. It's important for us to be visible, to talk about it, and to demand that other people talk about it.
Well, just normalize it too. The more...
What's normal, though?
Well, to just normalize it so that people are used to it. It doesn't necessarily mean everyone's going to be like, oh, this is great. This is awesome. I want to have gay people around me. But by seeing it all the time and by hearing about it, it starts to make it feel normal.
And what would you say to these people, these young people who are afraid to step up and to say, I'm gay?
The people in Canada. I know people in America and Canada who are still closeted. I mean,
it's hard.
It's hard to tell. It's hard to be out to yourself, and it's hard to be out to your family, and it's hard to be out to society. And each step takes strength, and it takes community, and it takes a willingness to want to go up against people who don't agree with you. Even in places where it's okay, there's still such institutionalized homophobia, even in yourself.
But you have to,
So the kids.
But again, we always say, we come into a country like Poland we've never been before, and we don't understand the nuances of the fight here. So we don't want to speak out of turn. But I will say that I do believe that change happens when people start to move forward. And I think to move forward, we have to come out. We have to be brave. We have to normalize being gay. And I think that means people have to take a leap of faith and trust that if we all step forward, then some change will happen. That being said, we talk to young people a lot about coming out, and it's like, you shouldn't come out if it's unsafe. Dan Savage, who is just amazing, advocate for gay rights and talks about sex and very popular in America. He always says, if your parents are going to cut you off, stop paying your college education, don't tell them you're gay till you graduate. If your parents are going to throw you out or make your life living hell in high school because you're gay, don't tell them till you move out. It's okay. Some people need to come out. They just have to. The second they know they're 13 years old, they're like, I'm gay. But some people, it's okay. Put yourself in a community that you feel safe and secure with and become the person you want to be and protect yourself, But I think we do need to move forward, and this means we have to come out. We have to normalize it,
Okay. You've been together for... whole life.
33
right?
years, long time.
So how do you manage to do this? How do you get along?
We take
How come
turns.
you're not crazy?
I think that there's a willingness to negotiate the conflict because we have shared goals. I hate comparing it to a marriage because I don't think it's exactly the same, but when you get married, you say, most people say, oh, okay, this is forever now. We have, through thick and thin, through happiness, through health and unwell, you you have to have the same shared goals and you have to work through it. In a strange way, our business, our music, is like a marriage. I don't think either of us is willing to sacrifice what is truly a satisfying and exciting career. Like, we both love making music, and we love our band, and we love the audience we've built. So there's, every time we're having a conflict, in the back of my mind, I'm more and more aware of what would be lost, if we couldn't figure it out. And I think that's what a marriage is, kids and a house and history and all this stuff. The longer you're together, the harder it becomes to break apart. And when we first started, I could go to a place of like, I'm quitting, this is done, whatever. But the longer it goes, it just becomes like, and I don't feel trapped. I was about to say kind of like you're trapped, but it's not trapped. It's just, there's a deep respect and you don't want to risk losing it. So I don't encourage people to be in a band with their sibling or someone that they're married to, but it definitely has its added complications. But it also, it's incredibly satisfying too.
So I've read the blog that your mom was writing during the tour, but I never learned actually what was your part of the story. Was it okay?
We had a great time with our mom. Yeah, I mean, my mom was... she was, such a huge force in our life. My dad and my stepdad were both very involved, but my mom was a single parent for a lot of years, some of our more important developmental years. So Sara and I love our mom very much, and we have a very close relationship with her. This is the third international trip she took with us. She's now done Europe, Australia, and India with us. So we are old pros at traveling with our mom, and it was special. She's a young mom, but she's still she's 55, and we want her to see the world, and she sacrificed everything for us. So it feels good to be able to take her with us places. Even when she drives us crazy, it feels like a good trade for our life, that she gave us. So, and she's a good traveler. She's very independent, and she fits in well with everyone, and it was nice for her to see our life. She's traveled with us other places, but this was the first time she'd been on a bus with us all night and every night in 3 weeks. That's a long time, and I think she really, her big epiphany in one of her blogs was that she considered our lives as two lives, our life at home and our life out here, but that she realized it's all one life, that this is our life, and that she'd always thought of it well, they're gone away and then they'll come home back to their life, but this is our life. And if only everyone we knew understood that, even the fans, even if the people who love our music understood, this is it for us. This isn't a willy-nilly, we put a record out and see in a year. This is us. This is the fabric of who we are. And it was so nice to be validated by the person who made us to see that,
We try to bring out people, my mom or girlfriends, or our best friend came out on tour with us this year, and that was super fun. And people come visit us when they can. It is important to sort of integrate, the people who we love and who we really care about. It's important to sort of have them be really in the thick of it with us and see it from our perspective. That's it really strengthens the personal dynamics that we have with people, I think.
Sara, if you were to describe Tegan with one word, what would it be?
Oh my God. Why does it have to be one word?
It's a challenge.
It's simple. It's a challenge, yeah.
It's so much harder. I don't know.
One sentence, okay.
One sentence. Wow, look, you already
You
got
can
it.
do this.
Ready.
Well, if you're
One word, I
you
would say
go.
determined.
Determined.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess the words that were in my mind were, along the same lines. There's a strength, that I think Tegan has. I mean, we are both forces of nature. I think in a band, we're both very strong. I'm sure we're very hard to work for.
Thanks so much.